Yeah, I think especially with knowledge work, it's hard to quantify what we do because almost everything nowadays is digital. Now, in the estate planning world, we actually get to print out binders that have paper that people sign, and you actually see the result of the work when that is done, or you may physically have that on a shelf and it's moving through a progression. But when you mow your yard, it's pretty easy to see the progress that's being
I
made
love
and
it.
what's left to do,
Yeah.
right? Or I guess more appropriate for this time of year, shoveling your driveway. But
Don't love it.
you could at least see that I did this much and I have this much to do. And there's various ways to do that from a digital perspective. But as you mentioned, those pipelines and those matter stages, that's also helpful because you see it one step closer to the end of that pipeline. And you know, once you get it there visually, okay, that means we've done a lot of work to get it there. And you start to feel, okay, I can handle what's left because that's a smaller list now than it was before. And we're making progress. And that's a good thing. And it's going to be different for every person in terms of how you sort of visualize the work that you have to do from a knowledge perspective. But anything you can do to help quantify that for yourself and make it feel like you're moving forward and not just going in circles, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I also might mention that in Clio, and depending on what level of service you have with Clio, in that pipeline that they have, it says how many days the matter has been in that particular stage in the pipeline. And if you've got one in there that has been in there for 300 days, that means it hasn't moved. Maybe that's a problem. Maybe it's not. Maybe there's active litigation going on and it's not going to be done for 5 more years. But there may be a problem there that you need to address, and it's a great way of keeping track. I think when you become busy, the tendency is that you lose sight of the big picture, and so it's really important to have a system so that you can take a bird's eye view of your practice and see what's going on, what's doing well, what needs some time and attention, and be able to act accordingly.
Yeah, great point there. And the other side of that, from a Clio perspective or any tool that you use, is review it with some degree of regularity. So if you have a list of matters that you're committed to at some point and that has changed for whatever reason, make sure you have that communication with the client and to say, hey, I got a lot busier than I thought. I'm really not going to be able to give your matter the time and attention it deserves. I need to get you somewhere else. They will appreciate it and you will save yourself a lot of headache down the road. And a lot of times, especially as you're starting out, that seems like a foreign concept. I can't get my head around that because I would never turn away work or what have you. But there are times when you take something on that maybe it's just a little over your experience level and you needed to co-counsel with somebody else. But seek that help right away if you're finding yourself in that situation, because if that matter gets to be 60, 90 days, that's not a good scenario for you oftentimes.
Yep. And unfortunately, yeah, you see disciplinary cases from time to time where cases get ignored. The attorney's cases get ignored for whatever reason. Client gets upset, files a disciplinary complaint, and then you've got to respond to that, and you don't want to get into that position ever. So just stay on top of your cases, stay on top of what's going on in your practice, and be able to know at any point in time where each particular case is. I think that's the duty of competency